Hey guys, Helen Hartsmith here from the Heart of the Witch's Path YouTube channel. Hope you're having a good day. I got dressed by myself. It's a good day. So, right? We gotta take what we got here. Bear with me as I kind of play around with this ring light and see which light setting and brightness works better. It's kind of hard for me to see because the camera is in the ring light, so I kind of have to check things out as I'm reviewing what I've already filmed, and it's a little too late to adjust anything. So bear with me. Trying another spot in the sacred space. I'm feeling that the sacred space it's cluttered. It's full, so I'm feeling the need to purge a little bit, and have started that process a little bit. It's kind of hard in our house because our house is small. So yeah, just kind of playing around with some different things, seeing what I like, seeing what I don't like. It's all good. Anyhow, that's not why we're here today. Focus. Today I wanted to film a video that starts talking about the reading that I've done in the last couple of years. And I was really excited to kind of talk about the top 10. It's 10 plus a bonus. And that's just kind of how it worked out. I didn't want to sit and chat for too long. We try to keep things moving here. But 10 books, 10 witchcraft, witchy related books that I've read in the last couple of years that have been a standout for me. They're probably a 4-star or a 5-star. The content was something that was really eye-opening for me. So those are the kinds of criteria that I thought about when putting this list together, and it came together very quickly. I mean, I still have, we still have at least 3 months of 2024, and so I could find even more, but this is just kind of like the best of the best that I've read in the last couple of years. So I wanted to start off by talking about a couple of the books that I don't have physical copies of. So I can't show them to you, but I will have links in the description box for all of these books, and it's super easy to purchase them and share links for Amazon. But as always, I encourage you to shop local, look at your used bookstores, look at your local new age stores for some of these titles, and spread the business consumer love with your local businesses so they stay open. Okay, so the first book that I wanted to talk about is, I want to make sure I get the title right. It is The Wiccan Guide to Self-Care by Marie Bruce. I happened to read this book. I think I actually listened to the audiobook for this book. It was one that, so I've been doing some advanced reader copies through Netflix, and this is probably the first one that I got from, did I say Netflix? NetGalley. Boy, oh boy, you can Netflix. Anyhow, NetGalley. I believe it's the first advanced reader copy that I was able to get through NetGalley, and I have a lot. I think that self-care is super important for. It's an important topic that we need to discuss, right? Because self-care is important. You can't, what do they say on the planes? If something happens, put your oxygen on before you can help anybody else, kind of a thing. And that's kind of, I think that's true. I mean, we have to maintain our own mental health if we're going to be a healthy person that is in a relationship, whatever that relationship is, whether it's a love relationship, friendship, family, what have you. And so, sometimes self-care can look as small as making yourself a nice cup of tea and sitting and enjoying it in the quiet, or it can be as elaborate as treating yourself to a trip or treating yourself to a show or something along those lines. So anyhow, Erin Murphy Hiscock has a book on self-care that I really, really enjoyed. And I recommend that one as well. But I believe I've talked about that book in several videos. But this book, I liked it because it made a lot of similar points as Erin Murphy Hiscock's did, but Marie Bruce, the author, is actually I don't remember if she's a psychotherapist or a psychologist or what, I don't know what her job is, but she works in the field of counseling, right? And so with those everyday suggestions and those magical suggestions, she was also able to give like real world advice pertaining to mental health. And I appreciated that, and I thought that it was fresh, and I thought that it was definitely something that deserved to have a seat at the table when it comes to self-care. So as I said, I read that as an advanced reader copy. So thank you to NetGalley for that. And that book is now out. I believe it came out last year in 2023, because I originally read the book in 22. Because yes, it's been longer since I've posted than I originally thought. Yee. So anyhow, moving on, the next book that I don't have a physical copy of would be Cauldron Born by Kristoffer Hughes. Kristoffer Hughes, I'm trying to remember, he lives in the UK somewhere. I believe he lives in Wales. And this book was all about, as you might imagine, Cauldron Born. So there was a lot of cauldron references, but it was predominantly about Cerridwen and that myth. Like, he broke down that myth into some like it was really, really interesting. Kristoffer Hughes, I don't know, I believe he's an academic as well as a practicing pagan. But the way that he wrote, you could tell that he was used to research, that he was used to this like critical thinking and analyzing and things like that, because that Cerridwen myth is not that long, right? And this is the one, just to kind of recap, it's the tale of Taliesin and how Cerridwen was brewing the potion of a wen for her son, and Taliesin, this was before he was Taliesin, he was kind of like employed as the person to continue stirring this potion for a year and a day as Cerridwen collected the various herbs and things like that that needed to go into the potion. Well, when the potion was ready, it bubbled and 3 drops landed on his thumb, and he licked his burnt thumb, and it was him that gained all the knowledge of the potion of a wen. And Cerridwen, in her anger, chased after him, and there was this story of how they changed into various animal forms. He would change into something, and she would change to pursue Easy. And, that pursuit happened until he changed into a kernel of, I think it was wheat or something like that. And then Cerridwen turned into a chicken and ate him. And then she became impregnated, and he was born again as Taliesin, the great poet. So he completely breaks down, and he looks at, because of course a myth like that gets told in different ways in different areas of the country. So he like really breaks it down. It was a super, super interesting book. And I think it's been out for a few years, but I'll have the link so you can kind of check it out. So that was very, very interesting, a very interesting subject matter. Then I can get to my stack here. So the first book on the stack is Rebel Witch, and this is probably the oldest book that I read of the books on this list. So this is by Kellyanne Maddox. According to my research, Kellyanne Maddox is also from the UK. Oh, look, I opened right here. It looks like she has a P.O. box in Manchester, at least. When I read this book, this is, let's see, this came out in 2021. And this is a book about kind of doing those rebel-y type magics that, a lot of people were looking at, especially like in response to the 2016 election. I know that I read the Michael, I believe his name was Michael Hughes. He did a book on rebel witchcraft and, kind of like bucking against the system and things like that. And I thought that this was very well done. A lot of people were talking about it at the time when it came out. And so I was a little late to reading it, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought that it was she covers a lot of traditional witchcraft topics, like different kinds of magic, and things like that. But of course, having like that rebellious spin on things that, going against the grain, and things like that. So there's arts and crafts, there's spells. I want to say there was like even rituals in here. She talks about hexing and binding. There's little sections like this with try it and write it. So those are like journal prompts, and try it is like some activities and things, and that's sprinkled throughout the book. She looks at the Sabbath or the wheel of the year, all that kind of, the moon phases, and of course it's all from a rebel witch perspective. So it was very interesting. I can see where a lot of younger witches, those people new to the path, I could see where they would be interested in a book like this. So check that out. It's about just over 200 pages, about under 250. So it's a quick read. Definitely worthwhile. Ooh, the next book on the list, I have been meaning to read this literally for years. The Way of the Shaman by Michael Harner. This is a book that was recommended reading for the Temple of Witchcraft's third year, the shamanic year. This was like one of Kristoffer's, I think it heavily influenced that work for him. It's a little guy. This book was originally published in 1980. This is under 200 pages. We're under 270 actually. And as you can see, I have notated this guy. This was kind of like when I started notating. I've only done I usually only do like witchcraft books where I notate like that. Just so that I can go back and find things easier. And, this is this little card. So can you read that maybe? This was actually a gift from Stevie, who is the Dean of Students at the Temple of Witchcraft Mystery School. So she sent this to me upon completion of my third year. There is a companion CD that goes along with this that is a drumming track. And so I know that Kristoffer really referenced this book, among others, but I mean, this was probably like the standout title that I remember as suggested reading from that year. Harner talks about his experience, how he learned about shamanism. There are meditation suggestions in here. There are, where did that go? There are some illustrations. So, this actually shows a shamanic activity, a shamanic exercise, blowing the guardian back into the patient's chest, blowing the guardian back into the patient's head. So it's a healing exercise. So there are those things that are throughout the book. If you're interested in shamanism, I think this is kind of a core book that a lot of people would suggest. Yes, it might be timely because it first came out in 80, but I think that this is an updated edition, and I believe this one was updated in 1990. So, very, very good read, very quick read, very worthwhile. Definitely check that out if you're interested in shamanism. Next, we have one of, these are the cutest little books. I mean, come on. This is The Witch's Mirror, The Craft, Lore, and Magic of the Looking Glass by Mickie Mueller. This is one book of 7, a series of 7 called The Witch's Tools that was put out by Llewellyn. And let's see, what do we have here as a publishing date? This series is really great. 2020. Is that the year? No, 2016. This is a reprint. You can see there's some annotation here as well. This is a great book for a group book study. My coven, we read books and discuss together, and we have been working our way through this series. As I said, there's 7 books in this series. So there's The Witch's Mirror, the Witch's Book of Shadows, The Witch's Athame, The Witch's Besom, The Witch's Wand, The Witch's Cauldron, and The Witch's Altar. I just came up with all those and didn't have to look it up. Yes. So this is the last book that my coven finished reading together, and we're currently working on The Witch's Cauldron. So Mickie Mueller, she only did this book, but Jason Mankey and Laura Tempest Zackroft, they did at least one of them together. Tempest did the Cauldron book, and then Jason did a couple on his own too. These are fantastic. These are great because it seems like everyone covers things like history of the tool, deities that are associated, how to make the tool if that's possible, what the history is of the making. There's a lot of history in here about mirrors in general. And this book was actually so cool that Kathy and I, at Convocation for 2024, we did a class together where we talked about magical mirrors. So there's all kinds of washes in here. There's different crafting ideas for making your own things, like a scrying mirror, making hexenspiegels, different things like that. If you're a crafty witch, check this book out in particular and check out the entire series. These are really good. And I mean, they're like they're less than $20 a piece. They're in that like 16 to 19 range, and they look really cute on the shelf too, and they're great to put in a pocket or purse and take with you on the go. Very good books. All right, next is this is a new book for me. I actually bought this book at Convocation this year in 2024 and read it. I think I started reading it at Convocation. Ho ho ho, she's so pretty. Look at her. Crystal Magic for the Modern Witch by Devin Hunter. This is not very thick, but this book packs a punch. I love this. You can see the annotation tabs here. I love this book because it is full color. Okay, let me look at this. Look at these pictures. It's just peppered throughout with all kinds of beautiful pictures of crystals. I want to say, I know, so obviously I bought it. I'm pretty sure Kathy bought it. The roomie might have bought it. I don't remember. She was looking at it because the roomie came to Convocation for several days this year. And so in reading this book, excuse me, I talk a lot and then my throat gets dry. Devin covers a lot. He covers crystal grid, his approach to crystal grid, which is very interesting and a little different from what I originally read in Judy Hall's crystal grid book. So that was interesting to see those different takes. I guess I should say that this originally came out in 2022. So he talks about crystal grids. He talks about dragons. And if you get a chance to listen or see Devin talk about dragons and his take on them and how he works with them, I highly recommend it. It's very, very interesting. There's lots of exercises throughout the book. He talks about the shape, form, and structure of crystals. So there's a little bit of like geology that he talks about. He talks about different shapes. He talks about, he does a really nice job of laying out. So this is the page for citrine, right? You got a beautiful picture. Then you start off here with information like where can you find them? Where can you find that particular crystal? He talks about cleansing methods in the book. So what kind of cleansing method would work well for that crystal? The vibrational keywords for that crystal, its temperament, the element that it's associated with, the planet, the zodiac sign, botanical allies, which is really interesting. The tarot card, and there's an affirmation. And there's also a little sigil for each crystal that he works with. And so this is a really nice book. Listen, this is a great book just because of the color pictures alone and the quality and how many there are. I mean, it's really extraordinary. Now, it's not thick. So he's covering like your basic stones. If you want to know about rose quartz, if you want to know about clear quartz, labradorite, things like that, you're going to find that in here. You're not going to find too much of the not as well-known stones, but that's okay because, I mean, as someone who works with crystals and does magic with them, most of my collection of crystals are those typical stones, those hematites, those obsidians, those smoky quartzes, you know, that kind of thing. That's what a bulk of what my collection is and what I reach for when it comes to doing a crystal grid myself. So this, fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. If you're only going to buy one crystal book, I would say start with this. Ooh, that was a claim. Is everybody ready for that? Ooh, Jiminy. Ooh. Okay. This next book is one that I've finished most recently. This is by H. Byron Ballard. This is Seasons of a Magical Life, A Pagan Path of Living. Now, I Byron Ballard was at Convocation in 2024. Unfortunately, between my teaching schedule and my volunteering schedule at Convocation, I did not get to any of her workshops. However, she was at Temple Fest, and I think I went to each and every one of her presentations. And let me tell you what, this woman is the real deal. I connected with her on a level that I don't think I've connected with another New Age author probably since meeting Kristoffer Penczak. This woman is an Appalachian witch from Asheville, North Carolina. And just a note here, yes, that is that Asheville that is recently one of the primary areas that were hit by Hurricane Helene. So sending out much love to Byron and her community as the cleanup and restoration of power and things like that continue to happen in her area. This book specifically deals with a yearly cycle of magic. And I've seen this, I've bought other books about how to take a practice into a yearly cycle. And this one is done very, very well. I love Byron because in the past, I talked about my magical life and my mundane life. And she is very quick to point out, no. You don't have two separate lives. You have your life and it happens to be magical. And you shouldn't be putting a line down the middle of your life. Magic should be a part of everyday occurrences. And this book really brings that out and points it home. I think that Byron is a jewel. She has been around. I'm bummed that I did not come to know her before now. And, but I'm so glad, so glad. And I actually listened to this book on audio. I really wanted to purchase this book at Temple Fest and she was out of physical copies. So I bought the Audible audio version and loved it so much that I had to get a physical copy. So now my next step will be to kind of go back through and get some annotation in here and really dive deep into this. I've read 3 Byron Ballard books since Convocation. I've read Roots, Branches, and Spirits, I believe is the name. And I just finished Small Magics. All fantastic, all very much worth it. So this guy, I forgot that I was singing praises and forgot. This is a first edition 2021 printing. We are looking at under 200 pages. All 3 of her books, this is probably the thickest, but all of her books are under 200 pages. They're fast reads. She is a storyteller that's weaving you into what she's talking about, and so worth it. Check it out. Yes. Next on the list, we've got 3 more plus the bonus. Okay. So next on the list is another recent book that I finished, Spirit Voices, The Mysteries and Magic of North Asian Shamanism by David Shee. This is another book that I purchased at Convocation and saw one. I think I only made it to one of David's workshops. Very, very interesting subject matter. As the subtitle says, it's this is all about North Asian shamanism. This gentleman has done the work, done the time. He has traveled to Mongolia, which is his ancestral area of origin. He has talked with shamans in that area. This is an incredible resource. If you read this only for referencing, do it. I'm hoping that David is back for convocation next year. I'm hoping, if everything works out. He's from New York State. So, this book is really, really interesting, guys. What do we have as a date here? This is pretty new, 2023. And we're under 250 pages. This is fantastic because there's pictures in it that depicts, he is talking about shamanism and in all of Northern Asia. So he's not just talking about Mongolia. He's talking about other areas. And I don't even want to try to say some of the groups because I don't want to mispronounce them. But oh my God, it was so fascinating. So fascinating. Very, very worthwhile. If you get a chance to see him present, absolutely worth it, right? So check out Spirit Voices. He has another book too, that I did buy at Convocation, but I haven't read it yet. And that one's a pretty thin one. And I think that's about magical practices. So more on that after I've read it, okay? This one is, don't you dare fall. You stay right there, mister. The next book is a book that I found used in a bookstore that we stopped into in the southern part of Michigan by the Indiana border. And I never expected to find a book like this there, and I'm so glad I did. So this is Sather. The Gate is Open by Katie Gerrard. I hope I'm pronouncing her last name correctly. This book is all about Norse-inspired clergy, magic, things like that. Katie is from the UK. This is by Avalonia, which is a UK publishing house. Like I said, I was gobsmacked to find this in that bookstore, and great read. Holy cow. I have a pull, as you may know if you've been around the channel. I do work with Odin Father. I do not necessarily consider myself a heathen, but I definitely have Norse pantheon leanings because I've also worked with Freya in the past, and I've worked with Thor in the past. And I actually called upon Ear for help for my mother when she was undergoing surgery. So the Norse pantheon is also is pretty much the group of gods that I look to first when it comes to help with any given area, right? So this book is incredible. There are prayers, there are rituals. This is an opening into Norse shamanism-ish, rituals for sure. Seidr, which is, I believe it's like the name of the magic, the name of their magic users. I tend to be very picky because of appropriation of heathenry in organizations like white nationalists. So there have been some authors that have had questionable dealings, and so I'm pretty careful about what I read. So I didn't see anything with issue with Katie, so I was glad that this was something that was that I was able to digest and feel safe in. And I listened to the audio. Guys, this is available on audio if you're using the Hoopla app, at least for me and my library card and how it connects with Hoopla. This was so good. And this is another book that I want to go back and tab because I didn't do it while I was listening. But this is definitely a reread, definitely one that I want to reference again in the future. Very good. Yes. Last book for our regular list. Another purchase from this year. This is a purchase from Temple Fest. This is Blackthorn's Botanical Brews, Herbal Potions, Magical Teas, Spirited Libations by Amy Blackthorn. Amy was a keynote speaker at Temple Fest in 2024. And this is, I believe this is a relatively new book. Not the newest, but it's relatively new. 2020. Oh, it's a little older than I thought it was. This is a cute hardcover book. We are just over 200 pages. So when I originally bought this, I thought that this was going to be all about like alcoholic beverages. And there's a lot about alcoholic beverages in the pages, but there's more. There's more to that too. There are recipes in here for cocktails, but there's also other recipes in here for things like simple syrups that are flavored, how to infuse alcohols with different herbs, and like how to use them magically. More importantly, she breaks down everything from different alcohols and what kind of magic they're good for, and even looks at like different glasses, like beer mugs versus martinis versus the two different kinds of champagne flutes, and like what kind of magic works well with them. And she looks at bartender tools and how those contrast with magical tools and what to use those for. So there was a lot more to this book than I originally thought there was going to be. There's even, there's herbal lore and uses. There's practical uses for things. And there's even, I want to say, there's an apple cider vinegar toner recipe in here. So it's a lot more than I expected it to be. And I'm super geeked about that. So this one was definitely worth the time. And, I started reading the physical copy, but then I found this on audio on Hoopla as well. So I finished it on Hoopla, and now I just need to kind of go back and add some additional tabs. Very, 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 very good. So that is the regular 10 list. Now I want to talk about the honorable mention, because it's not necessarily a witchy book, but I originally heard about this book. It was back in 2019, for a project that I worked on for the Temple of Witchcraft. This book is Braiding Sweetgrass. Indigenous Wisdom, Scientific Knowledge, and Teachings of Plants by Robin Wall Kimmerer. This book was a spiritual experience to read. Absolutely. And I didn't read this book. I listened to the audio, and I believe it was read by the author. Okay. That's why there's no, oh, but it's going to happen. There's going to be some annotations here. So, Robin Wall Kimmerer she's a scientist, and it's been a minute now since I first listened to it. I think she's like a microbiologist or something along those lines. She is an Anishinaabe woman. This book came out in 2013. And so she's an academic, but she's also a native person. And so this is a series of essays that talks about her outlook of living a native life, but also being a scientist and looking at the world through scientific eyes. And I think it affected me more so because I was actually a history major with a Native Studies minor in college. And I knew Anishinaabe people. I knew people that lived a Native lifestyle and understood what it meant to them and what creator meant and what the creator story was. And this is so worth it. So worth it. It is, yeah, it might be a bit of a beefy guy. It's under 400 pages. But every page is so worth it. And I want to say, if you have an Audible membership, Braiding Sweetgrass is available for free with your membership. I want to say that a lot of libraries might have the book. I happen to have, I think it's a collector copy. So it's a really pretty hardcover with like a green, it's almost like a foil effect. And it has a ribbon bookmark. I bought the book. Well, no, this was a gift. I wanted the book after listening to the audiobook, and I knew that I had to have, like, this is something I want to read every year. And unfortunately, my year is kind of coming to a close. I read this last year in 2023. I'd really love to get it in before the end of 2024. Do it. Do it, do it, do it. Read it. It's so good. Okay, that's it. That's it for today. What are we sitting at here? Ooh, 40 minutes. Oh, guys, I'm sorry. But hey, we had to talk about things. We had to get it out, okay? So I'm going to make the end. I'm going to wrap this up quickly to let y'all go. As I said, I'll have links to purchase all of these books from Amazon. But of course, support your local bookstore as much as possible. Yeah. I think that's it for this guy. I do have another video planned where I want to talk about books that I've purchased that I haven't read yet, like what ones I'm excited to get to sooner rather than later. So look for that coming soon. If you enjoyed this book, if you enjoyed this video or learned something from it, please give it a thumbs up. That helps get my videos out to other people. So it's very helpful for the channel. If you haven't done so already, please hit the subscribe button. I am going to be working very hard to be making consistent videos again. It is a promise that I've made to myself. So this is the second one. So I'm like excited. Comment, have you read any of the books on this list and what do you think about them? Do you have a book that's similar to one of these books that you think that I would enjoy? Put that in the comments. Let's have a little discussion within the comments, okay? So I think that's all. There'll be some other links in the description box too for like my Goodreads account, my Instagram, Kathy's Instagram, things like that. But I think that's all the business. So I will let you go. Thank you for taking the time to walk the path for a while with me. Until next time, blessed be.